A beautiful morning to you and welcome. It is Monday, the 20th day in the month of July 2026, and this is the big story. We'll bring you some of the most talked about stories across Nigeria and, of course, on what's trending on the social media space. I am Praise Soji. Let's begin. First, let me take you straight to the ECOWAS summit, the 69th ECOWAS summit that just happened over the weekend, where the Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, represented President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in that summit. But the one of the major talking points, aside other issues like the transfer of leadership to the Senegalese president, that's Bassirou Diomaye, the President Bola Tinubu, through Vice President Kashim Shettima, has come out to condemn the xenophobic attack on Africans in South Africa. Now, President Bola Tinubu has called on other African countries to lend their voices to unanimously condemn the ongoing Afrophobic attacks, also known as xenophobia, in South Africa. Now, Tinubu said that a united voice would send a strong message that Southern African country that such intolerance is absolutely not acceptable under any form. Now, speaking on Sunday in Freetown, Sierra Leone, during the 69th ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, the president, who was represented by his deputy vice president Kashim Shettima, informed the African leaders that the Nigerian government had already evacuated over 1,490 of its citizens from harm's way in 7 batches and is prepared to engage further on this matter. Let's listen to the Vice President Kashim Shettima.
We must renew our collective determination to strengthen regional integration and ensure that our community remains responsive to the aspirations and needs of our people. On Afrophobic attacks in South Africa, I wish to join Ghana in strongly condemning the Afrophobic attacks on its citizens and other fellow Africans in the Republic of South Africa. As already mentioned by His Excellency the President of Ghana, ECOWAS should present this matter before the next meeting of the Authority of African Union to send a clear message that this type of intolerance is unacceptable. South Africa should be reminded, while we tread the path of moderation, South Africa needs to be reminded that the freedom the country currently enjoys is due to the liberation efforts of African countries such as Nigeria and Ghana. Deductions were made from our scholarship allowances to fund liberation movements in Southern Africa. They should learn to know where their problem lies. Their problem does not lie with fellow Africans who are there to sell their skills. Nigerian government has evacuated our citizens in 7 batches and is prepared to engage more on this matter.
All right, so that was Vice President Kashim Shettima representing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, still on the summit, like I said earlier, the Senegal's President Diomaye Faye has been elected as the new chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government. Faye emerged as the new chairman during the 69th ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States in Sierra Leone. The Senegalese president succeeds his Sierra Leonean counterpart and chairman of the ECOWAS Authority, Julius Maada Bio. Bio had emerged as the new chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State when President Bola Tinubu's two-term leadership of the bloc came to an end in June 2025. And President Tinubu handed over the mantle of leadership to President Bio at the 67th ordinary session of the Heads of State. Let's take a look at when leadership authority was transferred from Julius Maada Bio to the Senegalese president. All right. Now let's move away from that to other issues that happened right here in Nigeria, where the president-elect of the Nigerian Bar Association, senior advocate of Nigeria, Oyekasola Badejo Okunsanya, has expressed gratitude to members of the association for electing her to lead the bar, describing her victory as a mandate to build a stronger, more inclusive and responsive NBA. In a message of appreciation issued after the election, Badejo Okunsanya said she was humbled by the confidence reposed in her and thanked members for embracing her campaign's vision of a bolder bar that works for everyone. Now, she said her nationwide engagement with lawyers across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory during the campaign provided valuable insights into the concerns and aspirations of members, adding that those conversations would shape her administration. Now, she also congratulated her fellow contestants for contributing to what she described as a robust democratic process and expressed readiness to work with them in advancing the objectives of the association. Now, with her victory, Badejo Okunsanya SAN will become the 33rd president of the legal association and the second female to lead the NBA since its formation in 1933. Let's just have a look at some of the conversations that happened when the result was announced by the Nigerian Bar Association of Nigeria.
And it is a time to reach out to those who lost, to those who are hurting, and not only those who contested, but those who supported them. At the end of the day, let the bar be the winner. Keeping the bar united is a very important thing. Extend an arm of fellowship to those who may have lost. Do not regard everything they say as sour grapes.
We want to assure you that the mandate you have given to Madam Badejo, she is not going to take it for granted. She is going to discharge it in accordance with the provision of the Constitution of the Nigerian Bar Association.
Just coordinated and well-strengthened cyber attack scale, which was very, very consistent, and its aim was actually to make sure that these events never happened. But we were resolute that God being on our side, the technical team had to battle.
All right, so there are a lot of conversations around the conduct of the elections and all of that. But a final story this morning before we get into the conversation, it's on security, where the Nigerian troops supported by police personnel foiled an attempted mass abduction by suspected Islamic State West African province, a sub-militant at a school being used as a temporary student hostel in Borno State early on Sunday. Although some of the students were killed during the attack, the military said the attempted raid occurred at about 1:30 a.m. at the Federal Government Girls College FGGC in Mongunu, which the Borno State government is currently using as a temporary accommodation for students of the Federal Polytechnic Mongunu. Now, in a statement, Captain Mohammed Goni, the acting media information officer of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadenkai, said the attackers allegedly gained access to the premises with the assistance of suspected collaborators. Let's have a look.
Very much pleased with the way the Nigerian army intervened into this problem of ours at the center there, Federal Government Girls College Center, for the remedial program students. In fact, what you have done is beyond expectation. We thank you very much for that.
We are all sleeping at the night. We didn't expect their come. We just hear gun sounds everywhere. They keep shouting. Some of us are hiding under bed. Some of us are hiding inside our lockers. So when they come, some of us are run. They have escaped. We have nothing to say, but we should just thank you for your rescue.
All right, that was a message of appreciation from the students to the military personnel that rescued them. So let's get back to the first story. President Tinubu condemning attacks on the xenophobic attack in South Africa. Joining me this morning to add perspective and analysis to the conversations we're going to have this morning, I have Misha Koza. Good morning to you, Misha Koza.
Yeah, very wonderful morning to you.
All right. We have three issues this morning to start with. President Bola Tinubu condemning xenophobic attack. Of course, it was at the 69th ECOWAS summit. What's your take?
Yes, the condemnation is universal because it's very unfortunate that the South African leadership has not thought it diplomatically paramount to make a public statement regarding the attacks on other Africans. And besides that, instead, the public statement being made more in alignment with the perpetrators of these heinous crimes. And quite unfortunately, South Africa is not seeming to be a student of history, because the people you are driving today were the same people that fought for you, for your independence. I thought the founding fathers of the ANC, which was one of the arm of opposition that actually had the empathy of other African nations, had the support to fight the apartheid white minority dominated apartheid regime that strangulated the black South Africans, the likes of late Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, you name it, and Thabo Mbeki, so many of them that great statesmen. I mean, if they were still in power, if some of them were still alive, these things definitely would not have happened. The generation of perpetrators are a generation that didn't meet appetite, that didn't know what it is to be a slave in your own country, although they are still slaves. Yes, because they are not totally independent. And this is an indication of the wickedness of the South Africans. Maybe I'll reference a little. South Africa should know that in the 70s, Nigeria led the coalition that formed an economic pact that aided the South African black minorities who were escaping from South Africa, or rather black majority who were escaping from South Africa because of the oppression of the white minority. They had scholarships that were funded by most of these countries, especially led by Nigeria, and most of them giving scholarship to go internationally to school. They were given asylum in all other African countries that they are killing people in today. So it's laughable when I see this kind of reaction from South Africans that, I mean, the people. Now look at the commercial nerve center of South Africa. The economy is beginning to crumble because it's clear the businesses are owned by non-Africans. People have come to add gross domestic product to your country, and look at what you have done out of there. I was so pained during the week when an international boxer of Congolese, what's his name again? I can't remember now, was burnt alive. I mean, the world wept. On Wednesday, I think, he was burnt alive in his combo. And that is a heinous crime. I think South Africa needs to be held accountable. Leadership, they must be made to face justice in the International Court of Justice, and for crimes against humanity. Because I mean, everybody has a right to live anywhere in the world so long as it's legal. But now both legal and illegal immigrants, or as in quote, have been chased away from South Africa. That is not the issue. The issue is that businesses are being conscripted by indigenous South Africans who are as lazy as anything, and they don't want to do anything good for themselves. So moving forward, quite an unfortunate situation. The likes, the Zimbabweans that you drive today, the Namibians, the Congolese, the entire African Organization of African Unity formed the bloc. It was formed majorly because of this apartheid issue, to fight the oppression of the oppressed black minority, a majority by the white minority, and this is what we get for showing solidarity. Quite painful, though.
Is it enough? Is it enough for African leaders, especially those from the West African bloc, to just criticize or condemn this? Because this is not the first condemnation we've seen, neither will it be the second or even the last condemnation we'll see. But you've seen an expressed, very open and straightforward message sent by the South Africans on citizens from other countries, Malawians, Zimbabweans, Nigerians, Should it go beyond just condemnation to some sort of retaliatory message to the South Africans?
No. I mean, international diplomacy does not warrant the use of force to reciprocate or retaliate on issues of diplomatic crisis like we're having right now. And you see, before the use of force does arise, all forms or options of negotiations and sober reflection and commitment, policy formulation regarding to the crisis must have been exhausted. It is when when it's been exhausted, that's when the issues have not been amicably tackled. That's when the issue of violence comes. And when they tried, now what we're doing is diplomatic de-escalation. But where I have an issue is that this diplomatic de-escalation is coming a little late, because first and foremost they started with issues with a pronouncement. Even after the altercations have started, and I made a pronouncement that by June 30th, so and so and so and so people should please leave South Africa.
Yeah.
Now there was a timeline, there was a window between when the pronouncement was made, when the initial attacks were made, when the pronouncement were made, and June 30th, we had about 3 weeks time window. That was when the likes of ECOWAS, the African Union, the United Nations, and other regional blocs should have come out to say, no, you don't have a right to give legal occupants the option, or the timeline to leave a country where they have become citizens. One thing for South Africans forget, most of the people they are chasing away already have South African citizens. Some were born there, some got the citizenship out of naturalization, and completion of asylum and processes and all that. So for you to come and tag everybody legal occupants, it's a democratic and economic depletion of intellect on the part of the South African, both the government and the people.
All right, let's go to the next conversation, which is right now there is a new NBA president, and she is a woman, the second woman since inception, since 1933 when the NBA was formed. What do you make of her emergence as a woman, and the controversies surrounding the election? Even though it was an election, but it wasn't free from people who raised one or two conversations about the conduct, and then it was an electronic voting system. Generally, what's your take on this?
Well, I think it's a very, very positive process, you see, and of course you were going to have issues of complaints and complaints. Yes, I must commend the NBA for following the electronic process. There were glitches though, but there were some areas where I wasn't comfortable that were raised by fellow contestants. The elections were intended to start at 12:30 a.m. and everybody was expected to vote electronically, and the glitches didn't start till about 7:30. And they said that when they started, they saw some of the complaints came that they saw that, I mean, there were already people already had votes. So for example, the winner already had votes, and in areas where some of them had strengths, there were a lot of technical glitches so that people could not vote. So, well, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I think it's a lesson to the. I love what is happening to the NBA election because it's a bigger reflection of what happens in Nigeria, and they are majorly the empire that takes a large part of the decision alongside INEC to decide the fate of our democracy. Now, what is the positive? I'm coming back to the negative, but the positive is that yes, we're beginning to see an improvement because we can never have a perfect system, even in line with international best practices. No matter how you want to do it, it's just that our own style of fraud and electoral fraud is not technical enough. I mean, it leaves room for a lot of questions to be asked. But then it was positive. Second woman to become the NBA chairman since inception in 1933. That was a great positive. But then the issue of this is a litmus test for the NBA. Congratulations to that, but it's a litmus test. The Nigerian Bar Association, which is an arm of the judiciary or part of the judiciary that we have always cried about in our electoral process, should raise the bar. I'm calling on the new president of the NBA to raise the bar in terms of legal professionalism, in terms of judicial process and justice dispensation, in terms of electoral reforms related to the input of the judiciary, because our biggest problem has been both INEC and majorly the judiciary in the interpretation of the Electoral Act, and of course in interpretation of justice and dissemination of justice. And I am not happy as a Nigerian, though I find that majority of elected officials come into office through the courts, and that is not the best. This should help the NBA through the judiciary, should help strengthen our democracy.
You know, I have a very important question right now in my mind, and that question is, when do we come to a point in Nigeria where we will not have or see complaints at the end of any election? Now, this is just an association's election, and there is still no controversy, even though it's a little bit not full blown, but people have said that, oh, this and this and this, they have alleged that it happened. So are we going to come to a point in this country where there will be no form of I was cheated, ill feeling because you feel somebody took your mandate or the person did not deserve the win?
Funny enough, there could be a time, but you wouldn't have it 100% perfect, but there will be a time. But you're asking a question that the people that are supposed to even take decision on the question are crying the same problem. That's the NBA, the Bar Association, and that is you see, until we have accountability, you see, we are so enshrined, we're too enshrined in corruption. Corruption has become so institutionalized, and it's become part of our everyday life. If the average Nigerian has a corrupt mindset, and even if you're not corrupt, you can be made to be corrupt, because like James Hadley Chase did say, there's always a price tag. Everybody has, they will give you, the average Nigerian politician will give you an offer even the devil cannot resist. Nigerian politicians Nigerians know a way to give you offers. So that is where the problem lies. Now, I think the biggest task lies with the same judiciary that has elected its Bar Association and has produced members that are going to be taken on the saddle for a period of time. But that is where the responsibility lies. They have to interpret the law. They have to make sure the interpretation of the law doesn't just end in interpretation. They have to make sure the correctional, the security agencies carry out the interpretation, and the correctional services cannot to give somebody that has been prosecuted, sentenced to jail, give him a comfort zone within the confines of the prison or outside the prison or even the prison quarters, make him feel comfortable when it's alleged to be supposedly serving a jail term. So the biggest problem is the same people that just finished election. Until the judiciary understands the implications or the complications of actions and inactions of elections and the failure of it as an arm of government and as a branch of the legal profession, the NBA, for example, to carry out its legitimate and without compromise responsibility to the discharge of its duties, it's going to be pretty difficult to have that kind of I call it an illusion for now, electoral illusion that we'll look forward to, but it's achievable, but it can never be 100%.
Wow. Anyways, all right. Let's look at the last topic before we go on a break. Now, Operation Hardened Kai, they foiled an attempt from the Islamic states, what was their name right now? ISWAP, right? To abduct 46 children, and they were able to stop the plan, even though some students lost their lives as a result of exchange of gunfire between both sides. But what do you make of this, of the intervention, the fact that they were able to stop another abduction? What message does it send to you? What does it say about the strength of our military?
I'm not fulfilled with that statement. I mean, it's laughable for you, the military. Now, you have said you were able to foil. I mean, that's an insinuation that the infantry, the foot soldiers, actually achieved that. Now, what happened to our Air Force? These guys are not ghosts. Now, if you go to the north, I schooled in Federal Government College, Mina, Niger State, and we're privileged to be in an era where we didn't have all these cases of insurgency. I mean, we're interfacing with them. We go out into the trenches in the afternoons or on weekends into the Fulani settlements within and around the school. We get there. We buy food. I mean, we buy fura. One of their favorite soup is draw soup, okra soup, draw soup, as a kid, okra soup basically. We buy 30 kobo then. I mean, a plate. We eat with them. We laugh with them. During Salah, they come. They give us meat. They give us things. So these things are now what we have seen. It's a collaboration and conspiracy by different players, and the Nigerians have become pawns of the chessboard of these people. It's not just about the ISWAP, Islamic State for West Africa and the Palestine, or Boko Haram. It's about the informants, the collaborators within the system, indigenous people, collaborators within the military, collaborators within the political class. Now, what happens? There was a confrontation. During the period of confrontation, there are radio signals, there are walkie-talkies, they have phones. You could call a command base. Look, we are seriously at war here. We need support, air support. Air support does come. These guys are not ghosts. They come with bikes. They will go back into trenches. Now, air support, even if it's night, we have air vision helicopters. The police has it. The military has it. So what was the response? What are we clapping for them for? They have not achieved anything for me. I just commiserate with the families of the bereaved for being pawns in the chessboard of those in government or those in power or the political gladiators. People fund these insurgents. People feed them. The people pay and supply logistics to them. We've seen pictures of logistics being supplied by with helicopters and all that. So I think the military continues to fail every day, but they have the capacity to do well. Now they continue to fail not because they are not competent. They continue to fail because the political will is not there. The military cannot move unless there's a command order. Those of them on the ground, the Air Force cannot move unless there's a command order. So we're supposed to give this command order. The person has kept quiet. The conspiracy will open up one day. Until this insecurity swallows all of us, then that's when we know that we have to take proactive and reactive actions. For this kind of instance that happened in Mongunu, it should be a reactive action. There should be an immediate air support for the ground forces, the infantry. The Air Force should support police. We have air police, and they have night surveillance helicopters. So what are they doing with those helicopters? Are they keeping them are they in the military museum? We should act fast. The military is competent. That I can tell you, if it's about competence. But most times you see the military not acting because they don't act without command order. So who are those to issue the command order? The commanders should do that. And the commanders will tell you they have superior, they have not gotten order from above. Nigeria is a theater of the absurd. I'm really sorry to say that. I'm weeping in me.